Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Organized. I have Tabitha here with us today, and I am going to get this lovely lady to give you a little bit of an introduction as to who she is and what she does. Take it away.
Thank you. My name is Tabitha. I am so incredibly excited here to be on your podcast. So, right now, I'm a busy mom, a Pilates instructor. I focus on persistent pain pre and postnatal. And
Mm,
right now, a lot of making Pilates more accessible. I think a lot of what we see on Instagram can be really intimidating and not necessarily a good representation of everything that
yep.
Pilates can be. Like, I've been an instructor for longer than I care to admit. And, I'm intimidated by the Pilates on Instagram. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't
And
look like them.
yeah,
So
I don't look like
I'm
them.
scared to try it.
And I mean, I've used to be a professional dancer, so I
Mm,
used to be able to do all those moves, but I'm still like now in my body after children versus in my 20s in a dance company is so
yeah.
different and humbling and
Yeah,
sometimes
humbling. That's the
humbling
word.
and upsetting.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Frustrating.
yeah. So I'm really in the process right now of launching my online website called A Key to Active so that I can work with more people with Pilates. But as Pilates honestly is a method for people, specifically women, to become more comfortable in their bodies. When I work
Mm.
with people one on one, I become like somewhat of their favorite day of the week or favorite hour of the week. It's not like going to the
That's
dentist where
nice.
you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
so it's also hard to come home because, like, I have one client who doesn't leave her house, she's older, and
Mm.
she just showers me in praises, and then I come home and my kids are like, "I
What's
don't
for
like."
dinner?
Yeah, exactly.
I I know what you mean. It is hard when you're appreciated in a different
Uh-huh.
environment and you come home and you're back to just being mum and wife and everything else, and then life just goes back and you're like, "Aw, why can't you see me the way they see me?"
Yeah, that is so true, and it's so nice to be seen that way and
Yeah.
treated with that way.
Appreciated.
Oh my
Appreciated.
goodness, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. So, Tabitha, what inspired you to actually get started in doing the Pilates and all that? I can tell that you care about mums in particular with the whole pre and
Yeah.
post natal thing, but I'd love to hear what actually inspired you to get started in it.
So, thank you for asking. I actually, I was in school to be a contemporary dancer, and,
Mm.
you can't make money in the States like that, really. So I was like, well, I could do yoga, or I took class from one of my fellow company members, and she was a Pilates instructor, and I was like, "Oh, I kinda like this."
Yeah?
And, as dancers, you need to be strong, but you can't be bulky.
Mm.
So I was like, "Oh," and then I'm tall, so I got in a contemporary company, I ended up playing a lot of what would typically be a male role in a ballet company where I'm the base for the lifts. So the Pilates helped me be really
Fun.
strong so I could be the base for a lift, but
Yeah.
still, be, not with that added bulk that you would get
Feminine.
if you did heavy weights and low
Yeah.
reps.
Yeah. Yep. Still quite feminine.
Yep,
It's
still quite.
nice.
Yeah, and what's funny is even contemporary dance is not as stereotypical as ballet, but there is still, like, a hint of it left over, unfortunately.
Mhm. So what happened in I assume leaving that dance world and coming into the Pilates, was it actually having your own children that kind of made that transition happen, or was it before that?
It was before that. So I was in a company for 6 years after college, and then I had my first daughter, and I was still dancing a little bit, but I started getting daily persistent headaches, and I started just
Mm.
not feeling right, and I ended up having to move in with my in-laws, and I had all these, like, random mysterious illnesses and symptoms
Mm.
they just couldn't figure out. Well, they finally did, fast forward, but through that process, it made me really wanna help other women advocate for themselves, and a lot of that starts with being comfortable with your body, right?
Mm.
And comfortable with the
Mhm.
thoughts that you have, so that, you know, I cannot speak for women elsewhere, but in the Midwest, there's this thing called Midwestern niceness, and women are, when we advocate for our needs, instead of people looking at it as being an advocate, it's sort of looked as more of aggressive.
Yeah, like being
So
selfish
trying
or something.
So trying a little bit to break
Mm.
down that barrier so that, when you go to the doctor, if you're starting to get these symptoms, whatever they may be, and the doctor's like, "Oh, honey, you just had some kids. It's anxiety. You'll be
Yeah.
fine."
Yeah, it's
You'd be like,
hormones, it's in your head, it's, yeah.
yeah, all of that. You can be
Mm,
like, "No, actually, that's
I
not
think that's
correct."
more common around the world than you think. That happens here too. It's
Is it?
you really have to fight when you know that you just know that something's not quite right in your body, something is
Yeah.
off. It is hard. Like, I've got a fantastic female doctor.
Okay.
Love her if anything's come up. But she's rare.
Yeah.
She's not the norm, unfortunately. And yeah, so as much as it might be a Midwestern thing there, it's happened around the world too. So I
Mm.
feel your story in that. I really do.
And that's so frustrating, right?
Mhm.
That it's something that's
Shouldn't be this hard.
global. Yeah, it shouldn't be as hard, and,
Mm.
as a Pilates instructor after my 2nd daughter, I had, organ prolapse, so uterine level
Mm.
prolapse 1, which is not very
Oh,
much, and it
yeah.
presented with me as just when I walked, things felt heavy, like,
Yeah. Not
you
in the right
know?
place.
Not in the right place, not in the right place. And I was like, "Oh," and, but I knew what to say to the doctor. I was like, "This
Yeah.
feels heavy. This doesn't feel right." But if
Mm.
somebody without my background, it could go years without being treated, and the
Yeah.
treatment was just a little bit of PT because it was so minor, but with it out being treated, without me knowing what I did about my body and anatomy, it could have gotten a lot worse, you know?
Yeah, and that's a lot of women. The podcast before you had lovely nutritionist on, and she was talking about the
Mhm,
body
mhm.
from a nutrition perspective. And again, with the body, until we are actually educated to an extent and actually understanding how our body works, we kind of don't really know. Like, for me, I don't really know. I know that even in my own body, I've got inflammation and things, but
Mhm.
um, and I'm working on it, but I don't know how to put into words what it
Right.
is that I'm feeling or how it's
Yeah.
going, and because I've lived with it for years. I mean, my youngest is 18 months now, um, but, I've had 4 kids. So it's a bit of a bit of a journey, but it's like, things just don't quite feel right, and it's like, "Oh, you're getting older. Oh, you're getting this." It's like, "Well, yes, I am, but this also
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it should be this way, but I don't know how to put it into words." So I love that you could actually put into words what you needed, because those of us not in this health industry and somewhat educated, I just, I really don't. I don't even know how to point. So I just get brushed off.
Yeah,
So it's hard.
you're you're gonna get brushed off, and one of my favorite phrases to combat that is, "Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal,"
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I
Like,
love that. It's so true, because how many women do you come across that are saying how they're stressed out, they're overworked, they're overwhelmed, and they're frustrated and anxious and all these other things. But because so many women are like that, it's like, oh well, that's normal. That's just life with little kids or whatever. And it's like, but it
mm,
shouldn't be that way. And I mean, that's part
right.
of what I do in helping mums and that as well. But it's like, just because a lot of people live that way doesn't mean that's how you should or you need to live. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. I found a better way. It's
Yeah,
possible for you too.
exactly. I know. I was looking through, your Instagram account and your YouTube page, and I love how you say "prepared and not perfect,"
Yeah, yeah. I say
right?
that a lot.
Like, yeah, prepared and not perfect. That's just
It's
it's
It's being aware
freeing.
of and helping being flexible enough for whatever comes up, because life
Yeah.
happens, and I'm sure you experience this in what you do. Like, you've gotta be a level of flexibility for injury, right? Or for
Oh, yeah.
just life situation. You've gotta be flexible enough and be able to adapt, but also it's good to just keep trying, keep going, don't give up, don't quit, don't stop. Like, just anything really just is still moving forward, even if it's not quite at the level that you're wanting to. And honestly, I've aimed for the bar on perfection before, and
Mm.
I was way more miserable than when I was disorganized like 12 years ago. I got to a level where everything was perfect, not a mark on the wall, whatever, but my kids couldn't even breathe, like, it was just
Mm,
it was like
mhm.
nothing could be out of place. I was way more miserable aiming for perfect, and I see the beautiful pantries and I see lovely homes and everything on Instagram, and that's great if they can live that way, but reality is you got kids, things are gonna end up sitting on the bench for a day or whatever else, but it's having
Mhm.
some level of plan and having priorities and putting the rest aside, having, just the
Mhm.
skills and the systems that work for your life now. So it's having a level of preparation, but we do not aim for perfect. So yeah. Anyway, I've just hijacked
Yeah.
your thing. So
No, no, that's beautifully said, right? So
Mm,
so honestly said. And,
mm,
I read a book a couple of years ago that a client of mine actually recommended called How to Keep House While Drowning.
mm.
And the biggest well, there's a few takeaways,
Wow.
but, the biggest takeaway was to do things around the house that were kind to future me.
Mhm.
You know? Like, because I
Yeah,
also so how I ended up with pre and postnatal women was just like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe our healthcare is this piss poor." Like, there's
mm,
a lot of things that you can do in labor and delivery to encourage a birth to go right. But
mm.
our OBGYNs, because of the litigiousness of our society, are just taught or how to keep things from going wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? And that
yeah,
creates a very different shift, like, there's an
yeah,
optimal fetal positioning, we like to pretend we're not mammals, but we are, so if we don't feel
yeah,
safe, it's gonna make things be so much more hard. And then I also started getting, sick and ill, and with the kids and the illness, I just couldn't keep what you were talking about, like that Instagram perfect
yeah.
house or whatever
It's
my
soul
neighbor was.
crushing. It actually
Yeah,
is soul crushing, isn't it? It's like,
'cause
I'm not good enough, like, I can't keep up, what's wrong with me? And there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Like, you
right.
are
Yeah.
in the same boat as 99% of other women out there going through the same thing, looking at this 1% who, by the way, off camera, there is crap everywhere. Like,
I'm sure there is, yeah.
it's not nobody really lives in a show home, and if you do, then you probably don't have kids or they don't have a good life. Let's face it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the reality, but that's also why I'm doing She's Organized, why I've got
Yeah.
this podcast, Beyond Organized, because it starts with people wanting to get organized, but it just goes so much more than that and going, "Well, we don't get organized just for the sake of being organized." It's like, what's the means here? It's to have better relationships, more time with our kids, enjoy our jobs more, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Like, it's to enjoy our lives. It's for what's beyond the organizing. Like, and even then, I've got cereal in their boxes and that because I did the canisters, I did all of that. And my kids would still ask me, "Where's this? Where's that?" And it's like staring them in the face. If it's in the box, they can see it, they can deal with it themselves. It's still
Mhm.
organized, it's still all lined up in the pantry. I just don't have to double handle, I don't have to tell my kids where it is, they can do it themselves, like, it's made my life easier just keeping it in the damn box. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
Well, as long as
Oh,
it's not
dear me.
humid, right? Like,
Yeah,
if you're living in
I don't
Hawaii,
live
like,
in a
you'd have to keep it.
humid
Yeah.
climate, so yes, yeah, you
Yeah,
might
see.
need refrigeration, you might need some sort of airtight container. There are a couple of things I have got in airtight containers because once the cereal bag's open or whatever, it's just gonna go yuck, so fair enough, but even then, you just gotta make your life easier for yourself, don't make it harder. So,
Yeah.
going back to you in this,
Mm.
I'm sorry to take over again.
Oh, no,
Um,
that's okay.
what do you feel is something when it comes to Pilates in
Mhm.
particular, pre, postnatal, all of that, what's something you find holds women back in going for it, in doing it?
Yeah, I think some of it's just lack of familiarity, right? Like, if it's new, so then it's unexpected. It could also be that you don't have, like, an accountability partner or a buddy or somebody to do it with, and also sometimes it may just be accessibility, right? And then also there's a lot of infighting in the Pilates world, so I don't know if we're necessarily as an industry selling or sending well, we're trying to sell, so we're not sending the right message, I think, right?
Mm,
Like, but once people get in the door, then it's usually community, goals, and then honestly, habit. I feel like motivation, we're kind of like, oh, I'm just not motivated. I'm just not motivated. Motivation just gets you started. It's habit
yeah.
that keeps you there,
I don't rely
and
on motivation for anything. Just get
you
on with it.
can't let right, it's so
Do it.
it's an unreliable partner. It's
Yeah.
a great, like, cheerleader at the beginning, but but then it needs to be habit, right? You can
Yeah.
do all those things like habit stack, and I think it's also just recognize that you're going to have some mental resistance, and just
Yeah, because
acknowledge
it's a
that it's going to be
change.
there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
change, and things come up, and then it's just a commitment to being consistent.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
I think
anything,
also for
isn't it?
some people, though, it's price. Pilates can be very expensive.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I guess
for
it depends on whether you're doing it sort of through your gym or as a
Mhm.
standalone thing or at home,
Right,
right?
yeah. So like with my .com, like my online business, it's geared more towards people with chronic illness and pain, and then also POTS, which
Oh,
is
I've got
yeah.
2 friends with POTS. It's
Oh,
become I never even heard of it pre-COVID. After
yeah.
COVID, got 2 friends with it. I've heard of more people with it. Where the heck has this come from? But anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so wait, well, quick side note, so POTS is, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndromes. It's your blood pressure being affected by, heart rate and a lot of other things.
Yep.
It's a form of post-viral syndrome that's actually been around for a really long time. It just happens to be a very common form of post-viral syndrome for COVID.
Yeah, that's
But
where it's like the trigger.
yeah, and here's the part that'll make people with POTS really mad, is that the medical community has known about post-viral syndromes for a long time, specifically with mono and Epstein-Barr virus. Oh, don't quote me on this, but I think Epstein-Barr virus is what causes mono. Um,
Mhm.
and they have studied it extensively, but not in forms of like how to help people get over like the lasting effects after the initial virus is worn off.
Mm,
I mean, to
mhm.
the point where there was like, if you had Epstein-Barr and then you got malaria in Africa, then you could develop these facial tumors, but only if you had Epstein-Barr virus
In a
first
certain order. Yeah, okay.
in a
Mm.
certain order. But they have, in these 40, probably now 60 years, done nothing for treatments or cures. Zero, zilch, like zero research. So the only
Mm.
silver lining to this is that enough people have POTS at the same time that they're demanding better answers. And then
Good.
then money gets into research.
Yeah. It's like these 2 ladies, one of them my best friend
Mm,
since we were teenagers. Her life has completely turned upside down. She's a single mom. She's only working like 3 hours a week now from home because she can't cope with more than that. She's
mhm,
on her recliner most of the time with her feet elevated, and as soon as she stands up, she's at risk of passing out. She gets her
mhm.
groceries delivered in because she can't even go to the grocery store anymore without fear of passing out. Like, it's
Yep.
just her whole life is upside down, and it's really hard to stay mentally in check when you can't do any of the things that you used to. And I know that not everyone is extreme as that. Like, I understand there's varying levels, but like
Mhm.
that breaks my heart knowing who she is, the life she had in her, and the life she's got now. It's hard. I know she's not going to stay there. We are both determined to see her heal and move forward and reclaim her life. But it is a really, really tough season. Anyway,
It's such a tough season, and it sounds like she's really doing a lot of the things that you need to do, right?
yeah,
Like from
she's
that book that I was
so hydrated. Like, she's drinking water constantly with all her electrolytes and all that stuff, and her feet elevated. Like, she's doing all the things, but
all the things,
it's
yeah.
just, what else does she do? I've encouraged her to write a book so that
Yeah,
you can do something in that time, so just feeling a bit excited about that.
yeah, have her contact me after
Yeah,
and after we're done recording, we can talk specifically about things that she can do.
yeah. Oh, I love that. So you were saying that with research and everything and with POTS and helping the women in this case, how does that help you in what you're doing with the Pilates?
Yeah, so if you go to look how do I say this? There isn't a standardized set of things to do for exercise. There's one protocol called CHOPS by Dr. Levine in the States. You can download it for free from the internet. It's a series of PT exercises and a cardio program. But for a lot of people, the cardio program is too much. So the
Mm,
Pilates program for POTS that I developed is a little bit more calming to the nervous system than the PT exercises there were listed. They are good. I'm not trying to knock this by any means, shapes, or form.
right.
Um, but the focus is more on a little bit more autonomic nervous system regulation through
Mhm.
exercise, through some breathing techniques, through a few other techniques that have been around for a long time. They're so simple, easy, free to do in your own home. And then
That's good.
eventually I would love to, create a study and see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Well, getting some more data around this would definitely be able to help in more
Yeah.
women and more people as a whole being able to be free of this. And just sort of on a side note, because I'm a bit overweight, all of that, and when I think of Pilates, I think of people that are already quite fit, for extra flexibility and things like that. Whether they've
Yeah.
got POTS, whether they don't and they're healthy enough, where do you fit in terms of like weight limit even in doing things like Pilates? Like, is there a particular weight cutoff or is it open to anyone? Like, because I feel like there's a bit of machinery and stuff involved too. Like, what happens if you're a bigger person in wanting to give it a
Yeah.
go?
Um, I would say first and foremost, go someplace that you would feel comfortable, right?
Um,
Where it may not be a bunch of, you know, very petite 19-year-olds wearing
yeah.
the latest athleisure wear. You
Oh
know,
gosh.
so I would pick a studio that has more real bodies. In
Yeah.
the States, it's often like a Pilates and physical therapy studio. I think you guys call it
Yeah.
physiotherapy.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and we so I would say first find a place that's, like, comfortable and more your vibe, and then the equipment is great. I have, a male client who's, like, 6'6" and upwards of 350, and
Wow.
there's only 1 or 2 exercises where I'm like, "Oh, we could tip this little tiny chair." Not really because of his weight, but because of how tall he is, like,
Yeah,
you
maybe
know,
the leverage.
mhm, the leverage of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, I've never had trouble with
Okay.
height or weight. I mean, there's definitely it's easier with weight than it is with height, I think the equipment really does kinda cut off at about 6'5", and truly it's best between, like, 5'1" and 5'10", but
Okay.
that's the majority of most people,
Yeah,
right?
especially for women who we're
Especially
talking to
yeah.
in this.
And
Yeah,
if you're taller or shorter,
that's
then there
okay.
are ways that we can work around it, and it's totally fine, and it's super easy to do. There's just,
Mm,
sometimes you would need a yoga block to stand instead of the floor, right? There's just
gotcha.
tiny little
Yeah.
adjustments that you make that we all make as moms in our daily life and don't even think about it, right?
Yeah, that is so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
So, what is one thing that you would love for women out there to know?
Oh my gosh, one thing.
I know, just one.
Just one thing. I honestly think it would be along the lines of, truly self-care. Like,
Mhm.
not the bubble baths and the dim
Like,
lights,
to the core.
but
Mm,
really whatever it means that you have more agency over your thoughts about yourself
mhm,
and the relationship you have with you.
mm.
It's like, because I was talking with somebody the other day about the golden rule, like, treat somebody how you'd wanna be treated, but what if you treat yourself like crap?
Yeah,
And how are
yeah,
you gonna be able to treat anybody else if you
yeah.
don't know how if you that's how you treat yourself?
Yeah. Though for a lot of people, they give everyone the royal treatment and
You
then
right.
treat themselves like crap. So, which
Yeah.
obviously doesn't fit the golden rule because you're not treating them the same way, but it's like everyone else is up on this pedestal and somehow you feel like you're worth nothing. So you just talk down to yourself and that, and there's just no way for so many women, there's just no way that we would even talk to a friend the way that we would talk to ourselves. I always encourage people, the, if you're struggling with that, then talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend. Would you catch yourself
Yes.
saying that to a friend?
Mhm.
No, then don't say it to yourself. Doesn't pass the test, you know? So
Yeah.
as a real basic way to start, it's so important.
It's a beautiful way to start, yeah.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on that, I would say even talk to yourself in the 3rd person like you would a friend, you
Yeah.
know, if the
Yeah.
thoughts are really, really damaging or
Yeah.
detrimental.
That's it. Go, "Come on, Mel, we've got this.
Mhm.
We can do it," instead of, "Oh, you silly girl, why'd you make that mistake again?" You know, that
Yeah.
doesn't help anyone.
Right, well, and then, like, a lot of things of our goal of organization,
Mm,
and if you start talking to yourself that way, and then all of a sudden you become the kind of person that is just more organized versus it having to be a goal that you either achieve or don't achieve.
yeah. Look, organizing is just really one very small piece of the puzzle. People don't go out of their way to necessarily like rate themselves on how well they're doing in terms of organizing in a day. They would compare it as to how they felt in a day, how their
Yeah.
children behaved in the day, how their husband respond to them in the day. You measure on other things, but organizing can help facilitate those healthier relationships and healthier experiences and create the memories that you want to create because you've actually got the time to create them or the money to create them or whatever it is. So organizing is not the end game. It's really just a
Mm-mm.
small piece of the puzzle. But yeah, as much as I dive into the pieces of the puzzle, I get people in the door through organizing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a beautiful way to start because it's something that you can see a quick, easy win with, right? Then you're tapping into all those lovely brain chemicals that keep you
Yeah.
going, like we were saying, habit versus
Yeah.
motivation. Then you're tapping into like the dopamine and the serotonin, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, and now I'm on board. This feels good.
Yeah. And now let's work on your identity and your nervous system and
Mhm.
like all these other things. It's like people don't come to me for all that, but then they discover that in the process. And I'm sure that is the same thing with you. They come to you for Pilates because they're like, I need to get a bit healthier. I need to get a bit more flexible. I need to get a bit fitter. And then there's
Mhm.
all these layers, right? That just get unpacked in the process.
Yeah, they really do. It's interesting how that happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, it starts with movement, but really what it really ends up being is more comfortable with yourself, you
Yeah.
know? And that's
Well, we've
really
only
where
got one body, haven't we?
Yeah,
Like, this has
yeah,
gotta see us through our whole life. So we wanna treat it well, and someone like myself struggled with weight a lot in my life,
yeah.
and I'm in a better
Mhm.
place now than I have been for a long time, but it is a constant journey, and it probably will be for the rest of my life. It's just one of those things, and genetics works against me and everything else, but that's okay because I'm taking accountability for what I can control
Yeah.
and doing what I can, but some of us have it a bit harder than others. You know, maybe if you're a healthy 20 something, you've got a little bit easier now. Maybe there's challenges down the track. I don't know. There's people that in their 40s, 50s, 60s, but they've also worked for it. You gotta, yeah, you've just got to listen to your own body, right? And make good decisions for your own body and do the best you can. And I've been very keen on the thought of Pilates, but haven't been very comfortable at the thought of being in front of others, still
Mhm.
being a bigger girl. But this has given me food for thought. So I like it.
That's great. Like, I love how honest and candid you are about your experience with your body and body
Mm,
image and weight. I really think Pilates and bodies need to come in all different shapes and sizes. There is
yeah.
such a large range of healthy and beautiful, and we are
Well,
sold this like 19-year-old stick figure,
yeah. I
and
was
we
never that even when I was 19.
I know. And honestly, it may help some of your listeners and to know,
Mm,
like, that comes from Twiggy, a model in New York, and George Balanchine, a male
mm,
choreographer from Paris that moved to New York, and that was the first time that skinny became popular. Until
mm.
then, it was actually more
Curves.
well-rounded women,
Yeah. I would
right?
have done well in the previous past. I've got enough curves.
Yeah. And it was also a sign of status because it meant that
Yeah.
you could afford food.
Yeah. Yes.
right? So,
Well, could afford food, but also I've had 4 children, so I was good
yeah.
for the child rearing.
Yeah, that too. Exactly. 100%. So, a lot of this really didn't come around until very recently, and it's so frustrating for me having 2 daughters now,
Yeah.
watching this sort of evolution of body shame and this, like,
Yep.
trying to fit into this ideal that is just kind of ridiculous, and now, like,
Yeah.
you can be what they call skinny fat, which is
I was
just
just about to
skinny.
say that. It's just as hard on the other end too. It
Mhm.
really is. Yeah.
Well, it's because and here's the thing, and going back to doctors, here's the thing,
Mm.
being what they call there's a name for it, and I can't remember it. It's such a big scientific name, but it's you still don't have the same muscle mass that you need. Like, because
Mm.
what it really is more than fat is that we need more muscle.
Mm.
And there's a lot of great ways to get muscle. There's type 1 muscles, which is the cardio, the walking that
Mhm.
we need. And they're more type 2 muscles, which is then the strength training. And as women, we start to lose muscle mass as we age and then also bone density. So it's
Mhm.
important that we train both types of muscles, the walking muscle, and it doesn't have to be a run. We're not cheetahs.
Yeah.
We don't need to run to catch our food unless you
Yeah.
want
If
to.
I'm running, then you need to start running because there is something chasing me. That's the only time I'm running.
Right? Or you're going to stop your child from getting to the street, right? Like there's a reason you're
That's
running.
it. Actually, I did have to run after my 1-year-old yesterday because got walked out of daycare, and he's walking everywhere now, and he loves it. And, he was just
Aw.
running straight out the driveway, straight onto the road. I mean, I was only 2 steps behind him, but it was just a quick, like, run because he just takes off. I'm like, quickly scoop him up. He thinks it's a game. He thinks it's funny. He's giggling,
Mhm.
he's laughing, and I'm like, "There's a car that just went straight past." Like, far out, these kids, like,
Right.
heart
Your
rate
heart's
going.
150 beats a minute and you're dripping in sweat. And he's like, "Yay."
I know, he's having the time of his life thinking I'm chasing him and, "Oh, yay, mommy's running," and it's like, "Yeah, it's because 'cause I'm trying to save your life. Stop running."
Uh,
Oh
that
gosh.
that is
Anyway,
parenting in a nutshell.
I know, right? It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they're alive for another day. Thank you, Lord." That's
Mhm.
I've done my job. But even
I always
then,
yeah.
oh, but
I always
anyway.
felt their first birthday was, like, for me, for keeping them alive, not for them. I was like,
That's
"Okay."
it, right? And it
Yeah.
should be about us. We
Yeah.
gave birth, for goodness sake.
I know. I know.
Ah, it's like, "Oh, well
So
done, you turned 1, you did nothing in
yes.
that first year. I did it all." But we'll
Mhm.
celebrate you because we love you and you're cute.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, anyway. Oh, I
Mhm.
could go on other
Yeah, so
tangents, but I won't.
it's amazing how children change the body, and Pilates is not by any means the only method of exercise out there, but it is a great postpartum exercise because it
Mm,
helps with breathing, right? So
mm,
and then that helps manage so we have, like, pressures with air and breathing, right? It
yeah,
helps manage the pressure and teaches you how to manage it on your own, which then helps manage diastasis, right?
yeah,
When
the
the
diaphragm. Mm.
mm, when the abs split. So diastasis is like we have that,
Yeah,
it's
I've
like
had that,
this,
the
right? And everything
abdominal separation thing. Yeah,
mhm.
I've got
And
that.
then also, and then with continence, right? Nobody likes to talk
Mm.
about that, but like, you know, I'll, like whisper to a client when if they're new in my class, I'm like, "Okay, so do you pee sneeze, laugh sneeze?" Like, like,
Yeah,
quietly so nobody else hears. But like those are things I kind of need to know because then
yeah,
I can gauge the class on, how to make the same exercise, a pelvic floor exercise by how we breathe and what we focus on. And then, then 3 months down the road, you can cough 10 times before you leak versus once, which is then a
mm,
huge success. Then you
yeah,
don't feel like
empowering.
more
Yeah,
empowering and you're
yeah,
not worried about like, do you bring a change of clothing, right? Like
yeah.
just walk out the door. So that is one of my biggest common but not normals. Like, and I cannot
Mm,
tell you how many OBGYNs I've had that conversation with where they'll be like, because I had problems with my second pregnancy. And I was like, I went to the OB and I was like, look, I've got that cold that everybody has. I won't stop coughing. I am pee sneezing all the time.
mm,
And she's like, "Oh, well, you're pregnant." I'm like, "It's not hormonal. because it's happening when I'm coughing, which makes it stress incontinence, not urge incontinence. And I'm literally
Mm,
educating my OBGYN. I'm like, "I hope you can
mm.
deliver these better than you can do this."
Wow.
And she did. She was great. But, um, but I did lose a little confidence in the profession because those are
Mm,
the questions she should have been asking me because
mm.
she is the
Yeah, the
person that
professional
women
in
go
that.
to,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Oh,
just like we just need a little bit more education, and then like you were saying
yeah.
earlier, the words, the language, so it's like from up here and, glitter in the sky to, like, tangible.
Mhm. Yeah. I feel like more than ever we are getting better at being able to discuss these things from
Yeah.
menstruation through to incontinence and all these other things that before was just like, oh my goodness, you're gonna burn at the stake or something. Like it was just like horrible, you know? But it's just now it's like, okay, we're getting better as a society. But even me, like thinking about these things, there's still like a little bit that happens on the inside that's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's private. Oh, I
Yeah.
shouldn't, but it's like, I am not saying anything that any other woman out there hasn't, like, experienced, like, one way or another. I mean, every woman over the age of 12 probably has experienced menstruating, and every woman that's had a baby, if delivering via cesarean, doesn't matter. The baby put a lot of pressure on things down there.
Mhm.
Continence, like, it might be great for bounce back within a week, might not bounce back until you get professional help. Like, it's
Yeah.
just yeah, we're all there, and as much as I grew up very private
Mhm.
with everything, even just through this podcast and just sharing things how it is and just going, "You know what? This has been freeing for me too." Like, even
Yeah.
just talking about this stuff because it's like, this is normal. Why are we putting shame attached to these things that are just it's just how it is. So, I like that you're talking about it and you're bringing awareness to that side of it too. So, I like that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm.
It is private and it is uncomfortable. And then you're just not gonna get help, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we can do it in a way that respects that sense of privacy
Yeah.
without there being shame and blame, right? That can keep it sort of like, yeah, I'm still uncomfortable talking about it.
Mm.
I don't think I was this comfortable talking about it until I've been teaching Pilates for, okay, I'll admit it, 21 years. So,
Oh, and you're
um,
only 22. Wow.
I know. Oh my god, I've been doing this since birth.
You
Um,
turned 1 and got to
there's a
work.
way that we can do it where people still feel like a little bit of that a Victorian era modesty and
Yeah, which is
and still
okay,
it's okay,
but
it's okay, because
yeah.
that's where we are right now, and that's fine. And then I think as a at least the culture where I'm at, we've now started talking more about childbirth and the things that happen
Mm.
and even
Yeah.
miscarriages, which is
Yes, that's a huge one. I mean,
it's a huge one.
most women experience it. Most women. I mean,
Mhm.
and not even just once, multiple
Right.
times. Like, that's another whole oh.
Another whole can of worms. And then
Yeah.
whether or not we decide to have children, every single woman is gonna go through perimenopause,
Mm,
and we're just now getting good books and science on it. I was like, "Didn't my, like,
yeah.
mother and grandmother and great-grandmother go through this with, like, suffering in silence?"
Mm, mhm. Like, "Oh,
Like
she's just a crazy lady," or,
yeah,
"She's just a nag, she's just grumpy," and just like, and it's like, "Hang on a second. Poor woman is suffering in silence."
right, yeah,
Oh.
like, you kinda wondered, like, well, how much of that was, the crazy old lady, and how much of that was just, like, she didn't get the medical help she needed.
Yeah. And probably being dismissed by a husband, by society, by other things, even
Mhm.
if she did speak up. We are progressing,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping that even by the next generation, we're in a much better balance with all these things. Even if we're not quite there yet, I'm hoping that the next generation will be. So
Me too.
we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll do our part, won't we?
We are, right? With
Yeah.
talking about it, being candid, and raising our children, I think, very intentionally or as
Yeah.
intentional as possible.
Yeah. No, I'm the same. I think intention is the key, really. So
Yeah.
anyway, we could talk. We clearly could talk for a very long time. But I
Yeah,
am
you've hit,
going
like,
to
all of my favorite hot button topics.
yeah. It's so good. Well, we'll wrap it up for today, but who knows what
Okay.
the future might hold.
Yeah, that would be great. Absolutely.
So, if someone listening would love to get in touch with you, would love to know a bit more about what you do with Pilates, especially if they're US based or anything like that, where is the best place to find you?
Yeah, so my website, achytoactive.com. And then I also on all the channels at Achy to Active. And then I still have a channel on Instagram and Facebook for Tall Tree Pilates, which is my in-person business here.
Yeah, lovely. Well, I'll make sure all the details and links are in the show notes to make it nice and easy for
Thank
everyone. But
you.
thank you so much for coming on, Tabitha. It was a real pleasure
Yeah.
getting to know you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for you as well, for me as well. It was very lovely. Thank
But the
you.
pleasure was all yours.
The pleasure was all mine.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.